G'day, mate, and welcome to Friday Facts 379 with Abstract Rewiring, and I have Mr. Abstract Mojo with me. How you doing, mate?
Hello, I'm feeling very abstract today.
Excellent, excellent. You're feeling perfectly with the Friday Facts because, my mate, let me show you around. Here is our lab table and our work stool, and over here is our interplanetary space platform, and here's where we keep our assorted lengths of wire. Yes, with a real-life space platform. Yeah, we designed it ourselves. Let us show you the different lengths of wire we use. Yeah, I have a chest of wire. Do you have a chest of wiring cables?
Have that at work.
You have that at work? Okay, mine's full of USBs and HDMIs and DVIs, and turns out I had some old D-subs in there as well. And
oh yeah, I got a box of that as well. The deeper you go, the older the plug looks.
I've had a whole container full of not 80 pin IDEs, but 40 pins. Yep, and 36s for floppy disks.
Oh, I can find even worse than that. Somewhere I have a VGA to BNC cable.
I threw that out.
Right at the bottom.
I threw that out a couple of weeks ago.
Non-multi-syncing VGA monitors.
Oh, I threw that out a few weeks ago. All right. Yes. Okay, so this Friday Facts is all about electric poles and wires and improvements. So this will be more of a technical journey, a peek behind the scenes of what we have to consider when adding new features. I'll be wired with one of the features I had to refactor in order to allow more features. Manual ghost wires. So, copper wires can be seen in Factorio versions as old as version 0.2.10 from 2013, and they actually survived up to the 1.0 from 2020. Copper connections between electric poles were just a targeter pointing another electric pole saying, I'm connected to this electric pole. Poles are connected to one another. Yep. Be more precise, each electricity pole had exactly 5 of those targeters, as the static vector is more optimal than a dynamic one. Sure.
It's a bit of a word salad, but yeah, it's a more optimal data storage.
Sure.
Storage.
Electric poles in Factorio 1.0, copper wires between electric poles were not possible between electric pole ghosts. So that's in prior to 1.0, which we'll come back to. Yeah. When an electric pole would be destroyed, all copper wires, all other electric poles had to be disconnected because we can't pretend that an entity is hidden in the entity's ghost shell is still connected to the network. That is a really bad play on words. Yep. Real pole can't have a direct normal connection to one inside a ghost, as the logic related to the connection would get confused. Yes. But to have wire connections in blueprints, both normal and circuit, we had to have a special one-sided connection from the ghost to real entity. So this means if you put down a ghost, it would connect to a real power pole, which is how it is in base game 1.1 right now. Yes. Plus they added a new feature to have a ghost connect to a ghost with a wire, which came in Friday Facts 362, which we need to talk about probably really quickly, because they added a bunch of things. This was between version 1 and version 1.1, where they added most of the functionality for Spidertrons. They added ghost belts and being able to rotate ghosts, and also have the bots flip belts quickly and fast replace undergrounds and splitters and all sorts of stuff on belts. A lot of quality of life stuff came in 1.1.
All the things that made ghosting belts 10 million times easier.
Yes. But one of the big ones was the power poles. So previously in power poles, when you throw down ghost power poles, they just sit there out in the oblivion. And eventually, when they're built, that's when they do their check for a local power pole and then do a connection. But with the 1.1 update, it means when you put down ghost power poles, you get ghost wires, which was helpful because you could actually make sure that things plugged in as you expected them to. But one of the other things that changed is now you could put down real power poles or ghost power poles and make sure that when you made a blueprint, it saved the wire connections, which means you could make blueprints with pretty nice symmetrical square wire connections and then save that blueprint. And when you put it down next time, it had the exact same wire structure. Rather than each time you put it down, you'd end up with a different way that the wires went, what? Why? Why did you do that? Why did you draw an X in the middle of my nice, clean power pole connections.
You'd always get that one X every time.
Or the one that's just slightly off center. Just that one power pole that decided, it was not going to go directly to its neighbor. It was going to go north or south by just one. Just had to have a standard little dead end connection all by itself. Yeah. Also, we got build dragging, which was another one. So you could just run around with undergrounds pipes and belts, and they just went down magically. Yes. Oh, and also they upgraded. That was the one where you're talking about, Mojo, with the dragging power poles.
Yes, that was the one we're talking about in the pre notes.
Yeah, the pre-photo fax. Yeah.
Prefax.
Yeah. Previously, they wouldn't connect between two power networks, and now they do. So,
Oh no, that one was slightly different. So the one I was talking about was you click and drag over ghosted ones, and instead of drawing new poles, it pastes them onto the blueprint.
yeah, previously it would sometimes hit on the blueprint, and sometimes it wouldn't, and sometimes it would do special things.
Yeah.
Now it was pretty much spot on.
Or both at the same time.
Yeah. So when 1.1 they fixed all that sort of stuff, and it looked like a really nice solution in the beginning because we glued a new possibility to the ghost without disturbing the basic electric pole functionality. In other words, electric poles didn't have to know anything about ghosts and its related logic. But in reality, the solution started to smell as the special cases were starting to pile up. When an electric pole is destroyed, you need to check it if ghost is not pointing to it and update its connections to containing a new ghost instead. Yeah, cool. That makes sense. Yeah.
A little bit Chingrish.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's dense, but yeah.
Yeah. So when you kill a power pole, you need to see if a ghost is connecting to it. And if a ghost is connected to it, maybe that ghost needs to connect to somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah.
When electric pole is revived, i.e. rebuilt, you need to update its corresponding neighboring ghosts. Cool. When a blueprint is being made, the wires for blueprint need to be collected from entities and from ghosts, because you can have a blueprint that's half made and half ghosted, and therefore you want to make a blueprint as you have neat power poles and neat connections. In theory, not you just slapped it down, you don't really care. And any logic, we need to check if the two things are connected, regardless of a ghost or real connection. We need to check all the possible ways the connection could exist. This applies to wire dragging, automatic connections, power pole removal, reconnections, and such. And this is just the start because we are just considering electric poles. We also have power switches. The switch to pole connection was also done in a custom way that didn't have the 5 connection limit. No, it had 1 connection limit, which was actually really annoying in some rare cases where you want to go
the power pole.
Into a switch. Switch was always limited to 1.
Yeah, the switch is limited to 1, but the power pole connected to the switch is unlimited.
Oh.
Specifically.
Yes.
So you could spam 10 million. You could completely surround the pole in.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember seeing a screenshot of somebody who had 100 and something power switches all plugged into one single large electric pole. Yeah. Because
Because that's a thing.
It was a thing, yes. It's still technically a thing. So if you're bored, you want to make yourself an interesting picture, take a big power pole, craft up 50 power switches, because you probably don't have them automated, and run some wire by hand. Yeah, CMOS places where the connections are stored and in combination in which they can act was just a programming nightmare. The main reason there were always some special corner cases where wires work differently. Or there's always an edge case.
There's always the edge cases.
Yeah. Similar limitations also applied to the circuit wires. Circuit connectors were able to store connections to other real circuit connectors, so when a ghost was created, it would be a single direction connection only. This means that special logic relating to circuit wires and its handling was also bloated by all of this. Cool. The breaking point. At this point, I was asked by Covrex to make it possible to add wires to ghost poles manually. After a day of not being able to reliably tell which of the functions called, just to add a ghost wire, I decided the amount of technical debt was just too much. A refactoring was imminent. I just had to throw everything out the window and propose a completely new design would solve all the issues reliably in one go. The realization. It started to be obvious that the original rule of never point to dead entities inside ghosts by anything was not worth the complications. Once we started to discover the possible simplifications we could do by breaking this old rule, it became more and more obvious that is the way to go. As it turned out, the one thing they're afraid of all along, which was not hooking ghosts to other ghosts and other things, To order the electric network pole connection logic to not get confused when ghosts involved in the normal connection system was basically a few ifs. In other words, if we built a whole infrastructure to shield the logic from the change, while the infrastructure was so overwhelmingly more complicated than just changing the original logic. We thought it was a good programming design, but it led us down the wrong path. So it now means that everything should work the same in version 1.2, 2.0 expansion DLC. Yeah. Although we've gone way past the 5 connection rule for that power pole.
Yeah. You notice that also there's a power switch with 3 wires coming out of it.
Yeah, you can go power pole, power switch. Well, you can go power switch to multiple things, also power switch to power switch. That's the part that I like.
I like also the ghosted switch, which is wired into itself.
Yeah, you can do that currently, can't you?
Joe, I never actually thought. Yeah, you can.
You can.
Yeah, it's now not possible, sadly, though.
What do you mean?
The top one's got it too.
What do you mean it's not possible?
That's what the caption says. Because the edge case. So this picture is a demonstration of all of the rules, all the edge cases that break the connection.
With all these changes that set up like this is no longer deemed impossible. So this is now possible.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, possible, not impossible.
Yeah. Because you can't currently hook a switch to a switch, which is annoying if you want to, like, really, really oddball cases where, like, you know, you have a... We had one with a mod we were playing, Exotic Industries, where we had a power grid, like a nuclear reactor, that needed a certain amount of seed power to keep it running. And in theory, you just add a certain amount of solar, so in theory it runs, because, you know, solar's good and everything. But that didn't always work. So, yeah, biters would eat the solar and things. It was a bad combination. And the answer was, well, we just need 2 switches. One to say, hey, if there's enough power inside the network, then you just run yourself. And if there's lots and lots of power inside your own network, then you can connect to the main base. And the only way to do it was with 3 separate power networks, rather than just having 2 switches with 2 conditions. It was a little annoying. So
Very specific, but sure.
Look, it's one of those things. As soon as you have a well-developed game like Factorio with a bunch of mods and all sorts of stuff, you're going to run into these odd specific scenarios. I wouldn't call them an edge case anymore. They're a specific scenario where, well, even a standard Factorio nuclear reactor, in theory, you need enough power inside the nuclear reactor network to make sure the inserters can swing to put the nuclear fuel into the reactor. It's sort of a much lower use case because there are a couple of inserters. They don't need a lot of power, but technically they need some sort of power. Yeah. So the other improved a small couple of other things. We also
important stuff.
Yeah. Well, I disagree. So when dragging an electric pole with circuit wires, it will drag those as well. Which
I wouldn't want that.
Well, I don't use wires that often.
See, wires are everything for me, so I'm very interested in that.
But I don't use them very often. But up until now, you would never, unless you had to, drag a power cable with circuit wires on it. You'd blueprint it and copy and paste it, even if you didn't have robots, because, well, the red and the green wires would go in for free.
Yeah, instead of having to pay for them.
Yeah.
Not that they're expensive, it's just annoying having them in your inventory.
Let's be honest, it's really just annoying having them in your inventory. It's 2 inventory slots. It's not a lot of inventory space, but it's 2 of the I never have enough inventory space slots that you use with stupid wire that's going to eventually run out when you probably want to use it. Yeah. Or you're going to end up with that situation where I have too much wire and I decide to dump half of it into the Logi network, knowing that the boss will never use it, and then find out that I'm out and about and I need more damn wire. And it's at home in the Logi network. Yeah. Also, the circuit rewiring logic can simply be done the same way it's done for normal rewiring, which does mean that if we remove poles with circuit network wires on them, they just auto reconnect.
Yeah, auto reconnect to the neighbors. Now, the hope is that the boss kid has actually thought this through and it won't connect to foreign circuit networks. As in, if there's a neighboring green circuit network, it won't connect to that different circuit network. It'll connect back to itself, its same circuit network.
If you have, let's go with the simplest explanation. If you have 2 powered networks, right, with, you know, power wires and circuit networks crossing each other in a perfect T intersection, but not touching. And then you, remove a pole that should make sure that they connect to a different pole. We're going to hope the wires don't get crossed.
Yes.
Also, at the same time, I'm going to add...
Circuit network A doesn't connect to circuit network B.
Yeah.
Or green wire A doesn't connect to green network B.
Yeah. I'm also going to add, I really hope that they don't skip a tick in the rewiring of the network. So it's like add new connection to move the green wire and the red wire from pole 1 to pole 3, then remove pole 2. Because
in theory, it should all happen in one tick.
Either duplicate it first and then remove it, or make sure it happens in the same tick. Because there are so many things that people build that if it misses a tick, it could be fine. It would be fine 99.9% of the times. But there'd be that edge case where something bad would happen. Always something bad would happen, because circuit networks are a pain in the butt. Just, yeah. I'm not a fan. Not a fan.
They're fine.
So, finally, after 2 weeks of refactoring, this is a quick fix, obviously. I sat down and finished the original task of laying out powers to manually connect electric poles, even in the ghost form. So that means I can put down a ghost power pole and add ghost wires, then put down a ghost inserter and connect up ghost wires to my ghost inserter from my ghost power pole. It just took a few minutes.
From your ghost body and your ghost map view.
Yes, we haven't got to the map view part. So, where are my wires?
That's coming in the future FFF.
No, it's coming right now. Speaking of wires, we noticed a few oddities with how the game was drawing them. Once I saw these problems, I couldn't unsee them. Wires connected between two short entities over a long distance, such as inserters of chest, were sagging way lower than they realistically should be. Yeah, that's a feature. It's a feature.
Because of the perspective, it's always kind of hard to tell. But yeah, with the inserter, once you notice it, yeah, you can see that it's sort of dangling. It's sort of
it's not dangling. It's
dangling up to get dangled down.
It's stretching. Okay, it's stretching far and wide. Yeah. And what's with these shadows? Why are they sagging southward? All the other shadows are stretching to the east. Look, wires believe in a different sun. They believe in different suns and different gods. It's fine. That's not how physics works. That's entirely how physics works. I've played games with Unreal. Like, Satisfactory's got multiple suns. Obviously, that explains the shadows thing. Combine these two made wires feel out of place. While the game is 2D, we do have some hint about relative heights of the wire connections, which is the relationship between the connection point and the shadow connection point. Using these two offsets and the lower definition, we can estimate the maximum wire sag that should be present. So to better communicate a wire's position, circuit networks strung between two short entities should only sag until they touch the ground.
So this led to my thought, if the wire is being perceived as touching the ground, does that mean there's a mod potential for player character tripping over wires?
Oh, that definitely sounds like a mod. That definitely
sounds like a Muppet thing that can make you have pain.
Yeah.
I hope Muppet's paying attention.
Yeah. Forget the fact that you can't climb over a pipe that is only as high as your knees. It's really a giant pipe in front of you, and it's like 1.5 meters tall, and that's why you can't walk over it. But yeah, definitely. You weren't paying attention when you walked across the inserter line and tripped over some red wires. Yeah. It just needs a 10% chance of, tripping and slowing you down. That's it. Just like a slowdown capsule on your head or something. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's an improvement. I think that's going to make wires a little bit easier to read, at least. I think that's the biggest change, because now they're more direct, and the shadows sort of helps you relatively tell where A and B is when they plug from one another. But they also did the same with power poles, which is just to change the shadows, really.
Yeah, so it's not casting shadows in weird angles now. It's more correct.
It's more technically correct. It's technically
Best
correct.
Kind of correct.
But it feels wrong because I'm used to it being the other way for such a long time. It looks wrong, especially the one that's going corner to corner. It feels like it's whatever. All right. So long distance connections between combinations should be more readable at a glance. Long distance connections between combinations. Oh yes. So
it's probably not the best picture to show it, but it does make reading combinator wire connections. It should make reading combinator connections a lot easier, having the wire a little bit more taut. The dangle means that they sort of mix with each other and You just lose track of it.
It should be that you should be able to see the wire and see the shadow and go, okay, so where it touches the shadow is the halfway point, and then I need to look at, directly opposite to that. Whereas before the shadow was all over the place. Yeah. It should make things easier. I think it will. Yeah. We'll see. And then once the improvements, how to go back without noticing flaws. And then we have multiple inserters hooked into a single power pole. Which it makes me feel like a circus tent. Yep. I need some other inserters put down with some green wire, please. And we'll have some white wire and we'll get a circus tent going in no time.
Yeah, circus tent.
Yep. So, Pop Quiz, can you see the shadow problem I want to fix next? No, I can't. Oh.
I have a theory that it's because it's drawing it over the top of stuff, even though it technically should be underneath.
Yeah,
or it's related. The only other thing that doesn't change is the connection itself, so it could relate to that.
Well, the shadows are being drawn over the power pole and over the inserter.
Yeah, it's being drawn over the front of it, even though it's weird. Even though technically it can't go over the front of it.
Yeah. On top of that, I don't know. Like maybe the shadow being twice as dark because it's a shadow drawn on top of a shadow, where they will line up at the power pole connection at the top. Because that's technically wrong too. You can't have a shadow on a shadow. Life don't work like that. Unless we go back to Satisfactory and the multiple suns thing, at which point, yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah. But I think I don't know. These are part of Factorio. Factorio's long history that I think we just all got used to. So, tiny inconsistencies in videos, games, graphics, UA, design controls can taint the experience, even if most players can't articulate exactly why. This part I agree with. Most players will never notice the changes made to the wires, yet all of them will see the wires and eventually and unconsciously enjoy the benefits. Taking a moment from time to time to improve even the smallest of details can go a long way towards making a good game feel great. Yes, and we can close some historic bug reports on the topic. I didn't look, but I am willing to bet they're very old. Yeah, these small little
I didn't look at those either.
These small little fixes go a long way sometimes. And I think they're the sort of things that people pick up when they start playing early access games when they first come out. And like, it just doesn't feel right. There's something wrong. It needs a bit more time to, mature. And it's all those little quality of life things that get slid in that you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I now that it's in a patch note, that I read a patch note and I noticed this, it's like, yeah, that is much better. I remember, were you playing Tectonica Muppet Mojo? Yep.
I haven't played that yet.
Okay, so Tectonica has lights everywhere. And do you remember classic 1990s fluoros? And that buzz sound they make?
Yeah.
All their lights have that buzz sound in it. All of them. You only notice it when you're up close. Yes. So you don't notice it straight away. And they've accurately, 100% best recreation of that annoying sound ever in the world.
But it was always those really older, from the 70s fixtures that did that too. Because they're all half burnt out.
It was all the ones with older ballasts in them. Yes.
Yeah, the magnetic ballasts.
Yeah. So it was really, really annoying, but it was something you would only notice if you were very close to these power poles, and as you had them mostly everywhere, you're always somewhat in range of one of them, and people complained about headaches and all sorts of things. And yeah, it turns out it was that sound. I only noticed because I happened to stand right beside one. I'm like, I recognize that sound and where from, and yeah, boom, yep. So also had a sound bug to go with it that made it extra pronounced for some people, but not everybody. Okay. So, cloning, abstract items. Most items in Factorio are nice and normal, and you use them as ingredients. You build machines and walls, and some of them you even eat to recover health. Yes, we've got to eat the cats. I'm sorry, I mean fish, yes. But over time, some of the new features are introduced.
Put the fish in the box.
You fish in the box. Yep. And biters in the box. And then they two play together. Yep. Some new features introduced had some unique and specific actions, and items are the only natural way for the player to discover to use them. Some examples being blueprints and deconstruction planners, red and green wires, discharge defense remote, artillery remote, and Spidertron remote. These were real items you needed to craft to use. They took up inventory space, and you lost them all when you died. You might be a little surprised to learn the blueprints were first added. You have to craft them with an advanced circuit, and to erase them, they cost an electric circuit.
And you also had to research them with red and green tech.
Was it? Oh yeah, because we only had 4 tech levels then.
Yes. I mean, you still had the blue, but it was a red and green.
Yeah, I was thinking like it was way later in the tech tree than that. Oh no, there were only 4 levels. Yep. Okay. Yeah. It was red and green tech. Yeah, just late in the red green tech tree, like after oil.
I mean, robots unlock in red green, or at least they used to.
Yeah, a long time ago. Over time, we come to decide that having everything as real items is not always the best gameplay-wise. And with the introduction of the Blueprint Library, blueprints were the first abstract item. Means you can just spawn one when you need it, and you can store them in a library so they don't take up precious inventory space. You can still put them on your quick bar to conveniently access, yes. Also, you can put them in a box, at which point they become a physical item. Prior to that, you can take them from your library and put them on your hotbar, and it's just aiming at the one in the library, not the one that is not in your inventory, because it's not one in your inventory. But then you can put a different one in your inventory and change it, and put it on your hotbar as well, and have 2 different ones, one linked to the library and one linked to the hotbar that's linked to the inventory, just to confuse things, because it's now a physical and an abstract item all at the same time. Yeah. Weird tricks and remote interactions. Blueprints was a major one, but it left the rest of these types of items in a strange place. Strangest and most annoying was the red and green wires. It took a good, well-earned copper and iron to craft them, but if you unwire something, you got nothing back. Additionally, if you used the blueprint, the red and green wires were included for free. And the aspect of remote interaction also became strange. You cannot red wire something from the map, but you could take a blueprint of it, wire it locally, and place the blueprint back over the top, and the wires would magically change. No, they magically appear. It was even better. Yep.
I've done that many times.
Yeah, you've got a roboport. You need to read the details out of it and put it into a power pole to hook it into a circuit network, and that's on the other side of the base. Just copy the thing, put it right beside you, wire it up, copy, paste it back, and oh look, wires just magically appeared.
You can also do it to update combinators.
Yes. In fact, you could wire in a hole. Anything you wanted, just blueprint on top, and the wires didn't even have to be magically delivered as non-existent items by the bots. They just appeared via magic.
Yep.
It was the true power of order magic. Yes, in the end, we took the path that made a lot of sense. It was to turn all these abstract items you could spawn, which you could spawn for free, and the abstract items work from any distance. This also applies to copper cable. There is the real copper cable used for recipes, and the abstract ones connect electric poles. The new abstract items naturally tie into the shortcut bar system, which is being used to its full potential. Yeah, that's a lot bigger shortcut bar.
Yeah, that's a significant shortcut bar. The one thing I wasn't expecting to see was the copper wire one for linking. As soon as I started talking about the stuff at the top, I was like, oh, they're going to make the red-green wire free now, aren't they? And sure enough, they are.
Yep.
But and then the artillery remote, and then as soon as they start introducing it, it's like, oh yeah, artillery remote and the Spidertron remote. You'd think about those straight away too.
Well,
but not the copper wire.
It's not only that. So copper wire, which you can use to physically wire 2 power poles together to force a connection. Also, you can use it to indicate that you want to remove a connection between 2 power poles, which is something that previously you couldn't do remotely, even via robots. The only option was to remove the power pole and then rewire around it so the 2 power poles didn't interface with one another. Yep. And then have the robots physically do the work, which is not something that would happen too often, but I guess it did happen sometimes. Red and green wire, remote wiring, yes, we just covered that. Artillery remote, yes, because let's face it, you only ever craft 1 of them, maybe as a spare, 2.
And they're kind of annoying to craft because it's, what is it? I can't even remember the rest of it. It's a blue circuit and then a control unit, I think.
Rocket control unit, yes. So they're not something you have on you at spawn. So if you die, it's not something.
It's not part of your normal kit.
Yeah.
That you can craft. Like if you keep some circuits and things on you, you can't easily craft it.
You can't craft a blue circuit outright. And you can probably have the materials on you, maybe to craft a rocket control unit, possibly.
The downside there is it's a minute to craft it.
Yeah, it's slow. The remote discharge defense, you'd end up crafting 1 of them and just put it on your hotbar, and literally, I'm only using it when I'm fighting biters. That's the only time. The rest of the time, it's useless. As the Spidertron remotes, That's an interesting one, because I've seen lots of people have multiple Spidertron teams. You could have Spidertrons for combat, you have Spidertrons for building, you have Spidertrons for deconstruction, you have Spidertrons for, I don't know, building solar fields. So lots of people have multiple different remotes.
Usually have 5 or 6 of those.
Yeah, with multiple different colors, and that's just tied to 5 different spiders, which might have 10 or 12 spiders following that leader spider to have a group.
Oh, the follower, the leader, having to constantly reprogram them.
Yeah.
So lock onto one, switch over to the next one, clear it, lock onto the next one, and then not accidentally break it all in the process.
Yeah. So we get a bigger and better shortcut bar, and it's going to increase our ability to do things remotely. And the good news is remote interactions will be the focus of Next Friday Facts. So Mojo's off the hook; he doesn't have to guess what comes in Next Friday Facts because he's been wrong every time so far. But as for Spidertron remotes, just want to add this in because Mojo.
Arguably, I was semi-right with the train bridges one.
Sure.
There's something completely left field that you wouldn't expect.
Sure.
Nobody expected bridges.
No, I expected bridges. Bridges were on my list of 1.2 DLC expansion 2.0 updates, possibly. Whether it was going to happen, don't know, but I expected they'd be doing something to majorly overhaul a lot of complaints about the trains, because we've been like 2-3 years in development. It's been a while. They've had a lot of time to change and improve things. And they have a more developed team. So I'm actually expecting a lot out of the new DLC update. But Spidertron remotes. I just want to add very, very quickly, because Mojo hit the nail on the head with the programming the follower leader thing and not breaking the combination. I want to be able to select a group of spiders, these 12 spiders, color them all purple, and say that is a group with one remote, with a group. Just if the leader dies, there is no leader, it's fine. Just one of them dies, it's all right. There's no longer 10 in the group, it's now 9 in the group. Yes.
Just automatically reorder themselves.
Yes. Like, I just if we're going to have this increased functionality and having a hotbar that's actually 12 slots wide, that's it's going to be an improvement. I'll give it that much. I don't know how many people actually run full-length hotbars unless you're running heavily modded. Like previously we had, I think it maxed out at 4 wide. So to get 12, you'd end up with 4x3, which is not too bad, I guess. But yes,
for the savages that like for hotbars that take up half the screen.
My hotbar takes up half the screen. My toolbar takes up half the screen. But now it'll take up a quarter of the screen with the hotbar and the toolbar at the same time, at least. But yeah, I'd like to see the remote have more functionality added with groups of spiders. Also, being that you still need to save the remotes with different each control group, I'm hoping these will also become physical items. You know, copper wire might be the exception, but like blueprint books, you can physically put them in a box should you need to put them in a box. You know, in case you have a group of spiders that you want to physically put their remote in a box for. Oops, I died. This is the spider I'm going to call to my call to my spawn to take me back to my corpse, collect my corpse.
Hopefully that's still possible.
Hopefully. But I think that is the end of this Friday Facts. It's a bit of a shorter Friday Facts, much more technical Friday Facts, interesting Friday Facts about shadows and
It's one of those more
wires.
technical ones that doesn't necessarily, it's not expanding greatly, but it is a lot of like little things like you're talking about with the code for the circuit wires goes back to over 10 years.
Oh yeah. This stuff's hung around for ages, and they've improved on it. But yes, they made that critical mistake of, okay, we don't want to break people's old blueprints, so we're not going to change the logic around wires too much, which meant that they went down one avenue where they didn't break any logic, but because they didn't break the logic and handle that broken logic with a couple of if statements, they went down a nightmare rabbit hole of we'll have to work around everything. Rather than just say, oh, if it's part of this old system, we're going to do it this way. Which they now have to do with train tracks, because they're going to have to handle version 1.1 train tracks and version 1.2 train tracks with the slightly different curves for some amount of period. Yep.
Well, that's just second set of graphics. That's not too difficult.
Oh, and with edge cases, it's always going to be more than that. But with all that said and done, this is where we're going to leave the Friday Facts. As always, thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been a blast, and we'll see you guys next week for more Friday Facts. That's it. We're out. Bye.
Bye-bye.